For over 20 years, I busted my ass working long hours, pouring every drop of sweat into raising my wife's daughter, saving every penny for her future. But one careless comment from her, a stepdad, just a stepdad, ripped my heart apart. And on her wedding day, in front of the priest, she thanked her deadbeat biological dad, a guy who did nothing for her, instead of me, the man who raised her. I'm Tom, 45, a plumber. My job's not glamorous crawling under houses to fix busted pipes, getting grease all over me, or sweating buckets installing water systems on construction sites. But I love it because it keeps my family going. I married my wife, Claire, 22 years ago. Claire's a kindergarten teacher, kind-hearted but tough from years of raising her kid alone before I came along. When I met her, she was a single mom to Lila, a 4-year-old girl. Lila was a firecracker as a kid, with eyes that sparkled like stars. The first time I saw her, she was chasing butterflies in her grandma's backyard, falling in the grass and giggling like crazy. I looked at her, then at Claire, and thought, this is my home. Claire was up front from the start. Lila's biological dad, a guy named Vince, was a washed-up real estate hustler who only knew how to make empty promises. He ditched Claire when Lila was a baby, showing up once in a blue moon with cheap toys before vanishing again. Lila got excited every time he called, even though Claire tried to keep her expectations low. When Claire and I got serious, she made it clear Lila was her world. I nodded. No hesitation. I never expected to love Lila as much as I did. It wasn't instant, it grew over time. Through every Papa Tom she chirped, every messy drawing she made of me standing next to her and Claire. I was there when she learned to ride a bike, scraping her knees but grinning anyway. I was there when she had a fever, holding her all night in the hospital while Claire grabbed medicine. When she performed in her school play, I clapped the loudest, even if she forgot half her lines. Whenever she was scared, she'd search for my eyes in the crowd to feel safe. I was always there. My job was grueling, but I never complained. I'd leave before dawn, come home after dark, just to give Lila a better life. Besides plumbing, I took side gigs painting houses, fixing wiring, anything to make extra cash. I started a savings account, dreaming of helping Lila buy a home one day, or throwing her the perfect wedding so she and her future family wouldn't struggle like me and Claire did. Vince, he was a ghost. He'd promised Lila the world. I'll get you a new dress. I'll take you to the zoo, but never followed through. Every time he bailed, Lila's face would fall, and I'd be the one wiping her tears. I didn't want her to hate her real dad, but deep down, I hoped she'd see I was enough. As Lila grew up, we got tight. I drove her to school, listened to her ramble about her friends, helped with her math homework even though I suck at numbers. When she graduated high school, I hustled to get her into college, paid her tuition, and bought her a laptop for her graphic design classes, her big dream. Vince would call sometimes, tossing out hollow lines like, "I'm proud of you," but never chipped in a dime. When Lila got her degree, she hugged me, sobbing, "Papa Tom, thank you. I couldn't have done this without you." Right then, every ounce of sweat felt worth it. So when Lila announced she was marrying Nate, a construction engineer, I was over the moon. I pictured myself standing by her side on her big day, a moment that would seal everything we'd been through. I didn't say it out loud, but I assumed it was a given. I'd been there for every milestone. Then one night, I overheard something that broke me. I was fixing a leaky faucet under the kitchen sink while Lila and Nate were in the living room, thinking I couldn't hear. Nate asked something about the wedding, and Lila said, "Papa Tom's great, but a stepdad's just a stepdad." To me, Vince is still my real dad. I froze, wrench still in my hand, my whole body numb. For 20 years, I thought I was her dad. Turns out, to her, I was just a placeholder. I didn't confront Lila or Claire. I buried the hurt, telling myself maybe she didn't mean it, but it festered. I still helped with the wedding, paid for the venue, chipped in for her dress. I worked extra shifts, dipped into my savings to make her day perfect. even though my heart was heavy. The wedding came, and I put on a new suit, forcing a smile among the guests. But when the priest asked, "Would you like to share words of gratitude for the parents who raised you?" I held my breath, waiting for my name. Instead, Lila looked out at the crowd, voice shaky. "I want to thank my dad, Vince, for giving me this life. Not a single word about me." I sat there, invisible, as everyone clapped for Vincetha guy, smirking in the corner like he'd raised her himself. That moment changed me. I didn't hate Lila, but something inside me died. I stayed at the reception, but my heart was long gone. A week later, Lila called, acting like nothing happened. She gushed about her honeymoon in Hawaii, then casually asked, "Papa, Tom, Nate and I are a bit short on cash. Can you help us out?" I was floored. After everything, she still saw me as an ATM. I took a deep breath. "Lila, I can't help this time. Maybe ask Vince. He's your real dad, right?" Silence. I could hear her shock through the phone. "But you've always helped," she said, like she couldn't believe it. "Yeah," I said, bitter. "But maybe it's time you stand on your own, or let Vince step up." She mumbled, "Okay," and hung up. That call left a hole in my chest. Claire found out and wasn't happy. "How could you do that to Lila? She's our daughter," she said, eyes wet. I looked at her straight. "Claire, I've busted my ass for 20 years for her. I saved every penny for her future. But when she had a chance to thank me, she picked Vince the guy who did nothing but ditch her. I can't keep giving when I'm not even seen." Claire didn't get it. To her, Lila was blood, and I was just the guy who showed up later. We stopped talking after that, a wall growing between us. Lila didn't reach out again, Claire said. Vince, as usual, ghosted when Lila needed him. He'd promised to help the newlyweds find a place, but it was just hot air. I wasn't surprised, but it still hurt thinking Lila kept betting on him. A month later, Nate texted me, desperate. "Hey, Tom, Lila and I are struggling. I lost a big contract, and we can't pay rent. Can you help?" I read it, picturing myself slaving away, saving for Lila's future, only to hear her say I'd never be her real dad. I replied short and sharp. "Nate, I've done enough. Maybe ask Lila's dad, Vince." Nate called, pleading, but I cut him off. "I'm not her real dad, like she said. I wish you both the best, but I'm out." I hung up, feeling both free and empty. The drama didn't stop. Claire grew distant, looking at me like I'd betrayed her for not helping Lila. She couldn't see that I didn't just lose money, I lost faith in the family I'd built. I threw myself into work, taking on more jobs to numb the pain. I reconnected with Greg, an old coworker now managing construction projects. He offered me a spot on a big job with good pay. I jumped at it, not just for the cash, but for a new purpose. That's when I met Jenna, an accountant on the project. Jenna was lively, easy to talk to, and most importantly, she listened. I opened up about Lila, the hurt of being sidelined, the savings I'd blown on a dream that crashed. Jenna didn't judge. She just said, "Tom, you deserve to be valued. Don't let the past hold you back." Her words lit something in me that had been dark for too long. One night, after a late shift, Jenna asked me to grab coffee. We talked about everything: work, dreams, life. She shared how she'd learned to live for herself after her own heartbreak. Looking at her, I saw a way out of years spent only giving. I didn't plan to cross any lines, but when Jenna took my hand and said, "Tom, you're not alone," I realized how much I'd needed to hear that. Jenna and I started hanging out more. I didn't mean to betray Claire, but she'd been so distant for so long. Jenna made me feel seen, wanting something I hadn't felt at home in ages. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. I needed somewhere to heal. A year after the wedding, Claire found out. She saw Jenna's texts on my phone. "What's going on with her?" she yelled, eyes red. I didn't lie. "Claire, I've tried holding this family together for over 20 years, but you and Lila never saw me. Jenna does, and that's what I need." Claire sobbed, So everything we built means nothing? You've ruined us. Lila heard too. She sent me one text. I thought you were better than this. I was wrong. I wanted to reply, to tell her I'd given her everything, that her words about me being just a stepdad broke me first. But I stayed silent. Claire wanted a divorce. I didn't fight it. I moved into a small apartment, starting over. The job with Greg kept me afloat, and Jenna stayed by my side, not promising the world, just being there. My savings for Lila were gone, burned up with the dream of a family that never really was. One afternoon, I was at a coffee shop with Jenna. We were laughing, and for the first time in forever, I felt light. Then I heard a familiar voice from the next table. It was Lila, talking to a friend. I started to turn away, not wanting a scene, but her words stopped me cold. I messed up, you know, Lila said, her voice cracking. I lost my dad, the one who actually mattered. I miss when I was little, when Papa Tom raised me, sacrificed for me. He worked himself to the bone, saved money so I'd have a future. But I was stupid. I chose Vince, a guy who was never there. It's too late now. I don't deserve him anymore. I sat there, frozen. Jenna squeezed my hand, whispering, "You okay?" But I couldn't answer. Tears rolled down my face. Unstoppable. Lila's words were a knife sweet and brutal at once. She saw it now, but too late. The wound in me was still raw, maybe always would be. I wanted to run to her, hug her, tell her I still loved her like I always had. But I couldn't. I just sat, wiping my eyes, letting the hurt and love tangle inside me. I left the shop, walking into the sunset. Jenna stayed quiet beside me, giving me space. I thought about the years gone by, the days I broke my back working, the nights I held Lila through her fears, the dreams I had of a happy family. I didn't regret loving her, but I knew I had to learn to love myself too. Now, I still fix pipes, still smile at clients, but I'm not carrying the weight of being everyone's everything anymore. The job with Greg opened new doors, and Jenna's my light in the dark. I don't know what's next. Maybe one day I'll sit down with Lila, hear her say she's sorry, and find a way to mend things. But for now, I'm moving forward, carrying the scars of a dad who loved with all he had, and learning to live for himself, just this once.